All right, Romeo and Juliet, Act 3. So far in this play, we know that Romeo crashed a party at the Capulet house. He saw Juliet for the first time, and she saw him, and they fell in love. And then in Act 2, they have just gotten married. And they've gotten married without the permission of their families and without the knowledge of their families or friends. In fact, the only people that know about the marriage are Friar Lawrence and the nurse. We also know that Tybalt heard Romeo's voice at the Capulet party, and that made Tybalt very angry. And he has not forgotten about that, and he's issued Romeo a challenge to a duel, which means a challenge to a fight. And Romeo's cousin Benvolio and Romeo's friend Mercutio know of this challenge. Another thing that is happening in the play is that Count Paris is requesting or seeking Juliet's hand in marriage, and he's talked to her father about it, and her father has said, no, you need to wait a little bit longer because Juliet is too young. But Paris is not giving up. He's still pursuing Juliet. So that's what's happened so far. In Act 3, Scene 1, the characters are Mercutio, Romeo's best friend, Benvolio, Romeo's cousin, and some servants, and they are in a public place. Benvolio says, Mercutio, let's go home. The day is hot, and the Capulets are out. If we meet, there will be a fight. These hot days get the mad blood stirring. Mercutio says, you are like one of those fellows who slaps down his sword on a tavern table and says, I hope I won't be needing you. By the time he's had a second drink, he's drawn his sword against the bartender for no good reason. Benvolio says, am I like such a fellow? Mercutio says, come, you are as hot-blooded as anyone in Italy, and as quick to get angry. If there were two of you, we should soon have none, for one would kill the other. Why, you would quarrel with a man for having a hair more or less in his beard than you have. You would quarrel with a man for cracking nuts, having no other reason but that you have hazel eyes. Who but you would quarrel over that? Your head is as full of quarrels meaning fights, as an egg is full of meat, and yet your head has been beaten like an egg for quarreling. You have quarreled with a man for coughing in the street because he woke up your dog. You quarreled with a tailor for wearing his new coat before Easter, and yet you tell me not to quarrel? Benvolio responds, ha! If I quarreled as much as you, my life would not last another hour. Mercutio said, you said it, not I. And Benvolio says, by my head, here come the Capulets. Mercutio says, by my heel, I do not care. Tybalt and the others enter the scene. Tybalt says to his friends, stay close, for I will speak to them. And then Tybalt goes over to Benvolio and Mercutio and says, gentlemen, good day. A word with one of you? Mercutio responds, just a word? How about a word and a fight? Tybalt responds, you shall find me ready for that, sir, if you give me a reason. Mercutio says, can't you find a reason without my giving you one? And Tybalt says, Mercutio, you are one of Romeo's band. Mercutio says, band? What, do you think we are musicians? And Mercutio waves his sword around. Here's my fiddlestick, that shall make you dance. Benvolio says, we are in a public place. Either go into some private place to talk about your differences, or else leave. Here all eyes gaze on us. Mercutio says, men's eyes were made to gaze. I will not budge or move to please anyone. Tybalt says, well, peace be with you, sir. And then Romeo enters the scene. And Tybalt says, here comes the man I'm looking for. Romeo, you are a villain. Romeo responds. He says, Tybalt, I have my reasons for excusing your insults. I am not a villain. Therefore, farewell. I see that you don't really know me. Tybalt says, boy, this does not excuse the injuries you have done me. So turn and draw, meaning draw your sword. Let's fight. Romeo says, I never injured you. I love you more than you can dream until you know the reason for my love. And so, good Capulet, which name I love as dearly as my own, calm down. So, Romeo here is saying, I love you, Tybalt, more than you can dream, more than you can know, until you know the reason why I love you. And then he says, Capulet, he calls Tybalt by his last name, good Capulet, which name I love as dearly as my own. Why does Romeo love the name Capulet, like he says here? He loves the name Capulet because he has just married Juliet, and Juliet's name is Capulet, just like Tybalt. So Romeo says, I love you, Tybalt, because now Tybalt is part of his own family. Romeo has married Juliet, and Tybalt is Juliet's cousin. So now Tybalt is also part of Romeo's new family. Tybalt doesn't know that, because he doesn't know that the two of them got married, but Romeo knows that. And so he doesn't want to fight with Tybalt because Tybalt is now a member of his family and is the relative of his wife. So he's trying to avoid this fight. Mercutio says, What are you saying, Romeo? Because Mercutio doesn't know that Romeo married Juliet either. He just sees that Romeo is trying not to fight Tybalt and not acting very brave or not accepting the challenge to fight. And that makes Mercutio angry. Mercutio says, What are you saying, Romeo? And Mercutio draws his sword. Tybalt, you rat catcher, will you walk away? Tybalt says, What do you want with me? And Mercutio says, Good king of cats, nothing but one of your 9 lives. Tybalt draws his sword. Well, I am ready for you. Romeo says, Gentle Mercutio, put your sword away. And Mercutio says to Tybalt, Come, sir, your move. Romeo says, Stop. Remember what the prince said about fighting on the streets of Verona. Stop, Tybalt. Please, good Mercutio. But they don't stop. Mercutio and Tybalt fight. Romeo, trying to stop them from fighting, Romeo steps between them. Tybalt, who's now shielded by Romeo, thrusts or pushes his sword into Mercutio's body. And then Tybalt runs away with his friends. Mercutio has just been stabbed by Tybalt, and Mercutio says, I am hurt. I am dying. A plague on both your houses. A plague is like a disease, so he's wishing that both Romeo's house, Romeo's family, and Tybalt's family would have bad luck, like an illness. A plague on both your houses. Is he gone and has no injuries? And Benvolio says, What, are you hurt? Mercutio says, Yes, a scratch, but it is enough. Where's my servant? Go, get a doctor. And the servant exits. Romeo says, Courage, man, the hurt can't be much. And Mercutio says, No, it is not as deep as a well, nor as wide as a church door, but it is enough, it will serve. Ask for me tomorrow, and you shall find me a grave man. So this is a pun on the word grave, because this word grave can mean 2 things. Grave as an adjective means serious, not funny, but serious. And obviously, also a grave as a noun is a place in the ground, a hole in the ground, where a dead body rests. So Mercutio is making a pun on the word grave, meaning tomorrow you will find him both serious and dead. He says, I am not long for this world, a plague on both of your houses. Only a dog, a rat, a mouse, a cat scratches a man to death. Why did you come between us? He struck me by going under your arm. And Romeo says, I thought I was doing the best thing. Mercutio says, Help me into some house, Benvolio, or I shall faint. A plague on both your houses. They have made worms meat of me. Mercutio and Benvolio exit. Romeo says, This gentleman, my dear friend, has been wounded because Tybalt insulted me. Tybalt, my relative for the past hour. Oh, Juliet, your beauty has made me weak. Benvolio enters again. And Benvolio says, "Oh, Romeo, Romeo, brave Mercutio's dead." Romeo says, "This black day is, I fear, just the beginning. More woes will follow." Benvolio says, "The furious Tybalt is back again." Romeo says, "Tybalt is alive, and Mercutio is dead." Tybalt enters the scene, and Romeo continues, "Now, Tybalt, you are the villain. Mercutio's soul is just above our heads, waiting for yours to keep him company. Either you or I or both must go with him." They fight, and Tybalt falls dead. Romeo kills Tybalt. Benvolio says, "Romeo, you must get away. People are coming, and Tybalt is dead. Don't just stand there. The prince will have you put to death. If you are caught, run." Romeo says, "Oh, I am Fortune's fool." So Fortune is like luck. So he's saying he is like the fool or the clown of fortune. He is like a clown of luck. He's saying he has terrible luck. Why has he terrible luck? Because he has just killed the cousin of his brand new wife. He has just killed Tybalt, who is the relative of his wife. Also, he has just killed someone in the street, and the prince said that if the Montagues or Capulets fought in public and killed anyone, that the prince would put them to death. So Romeo should be put to death for this. Very bad luck. So Romeo runs away, and the prince enters the scene, followed by Lord and Lady Montague, Lord and Lady Capulet, and their servants and other citizens. The prince says, "Who started this fight, and where did they go?" Benvolio says, "O noble prince, I can tell you who was in this fatal fight. The man who lies here killed Mercutio," that meaning Tybalt. "He was then killed by Romeo." Lady Capulet says, "Oh, Tybalt, my cousin, oh, my brother's child. Oh, husband, Capulet blood has been shed. The Montagues must pay in kind." Prince says, "Benvolio, what happened here?" And Benvolio says, "Tybalt started it all by picking a fight. Romeo tried to calm him down, reminding him of your wishes, but Tybalt was deaf to words of peace. Mercutio tried to defend Romeo, but was killed. Romeo, in anger, then fought with Tybalt. When Tybalt fell, Romeo did turn and fly, or run away. This is the truth, or let Benvolio die." Lady Capulet says, "He is related to Romeo, so he is lying to save Romeo's life. I beg for justice, which you, prince, must give. Romeo killed Tybalt. Romeo must not live." The prince says, "Romeo killed Tybalt, but Tybalt killed Mercutio. Who owes the price of Mercutio's life?" Montague says, "Not Romeo, prince. He was Mercutio's friend. Tybalt got what he deserved. Romeo only ended what the law would have ended, which is Tybalt's life." The prince says, "Romeo should not have taken the law into his own hands. For that, we send him into exile." Exile means that a person must leave and not come back. So Romeo is exiled. "I have my own interest in this fight. Mercutio was one of my relatives, so I will impose so big a fine that you all should feel this loss of mine. No more excuses, but by all my power, if Romeo's found here, it's his last hour. Carry this body away and listen to our will. Mercy is like murder when it pardons those who kill." And everyone exits the scene. Scene 2, Juliet enters a room in the Capulet house. Juliet says, "Hurry, son, race to the west and bring in cloudy night to spread its dark curtain. Let Romeo leap into these arms unseen. Lovers use the light of their own beauty. Or, if love is blind, it best agrees with night. Gentle night, cover my blushing cheeks with your black mantle. Come, night, come, Romeo. Come, you day and night, for you will lie upon the wings of night, whiter than new snow on a raven's back. Come, loving dark night, and give me my Romeo. When he shall die, take him and cut him out into little stars. He will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night, and pay no worship to the bright sun. Oh, I have bought the mansion of love, but not lived in it. I am like an impatient child with new clothes, waiting for the party so I can wear them. Here comes my nurse, and she brings news. The nurse enters the room with the rope ladder. The nurse says, "Here is the rope ladder that Romeo wanted," and she throws it down. Juliet says, "Oh my, what's the news? Why are you wringing your hands?" And nurse says, "He's dead, he's dead, oh, he's dead. We are finished, lady, we are finished. Oh, pity the day, he's gone, he's killed, he's dead." And Juliet said, "Can heaven be so envious of us?" Nurse says, "Romeo can, though heaven cannot." Oh, Romeo, Romeo, who would have ever thought it? Romeo! Juliet says, "Why are you tormenting me this way? Has Romeo killed himself?" Nurse says, "I saw the wound with my own eyes, a terrible sight, a pitiful corpse, pale, pale as ashes, all covered in blood. Oh, I fainted at the sight." Juliet says, "Oh, break, break my heart, break at once. To prison eyes, never look on liberty." Nurse says, "Oh, Tybalt, Tybalt, the best friend I had. Oh, dear Tybalt, honest gentleman, that I should live to see you dead." Juliet says, "What are you saying? Are both Romeo and Tybalt dead? Oh, dear cousin and dear husband, let the trumpet sound the general doom, for who can live if these two are gone?" Nurse says, "Tybalt is gone, and Romeo must leave. Romeo, who killed him, has been banished." Juliet says, "Oh God, did Romeo's hand shed Tybalt's blood?" Nurse says, "It did, it did. Oh, curse the day it did." Julia says, "A snake's heart hid by a flowery face. Did any dragon ever keep so fair a cave? Evil angel, wolf-eating lamb. Oh, Romeo, you are the opposite of what you seemed." So she's feeling like Romeo was actually a bad person who had, a beautiful, handsome face and acted so sweet, but actually was cruel enough to kill her cousin. So she says this by making analogies like a snake's heart hidden by a flowery face. She's referring to Romeo, who has such a beautiful face, but must have been so cruel, like having a snake's heart, that he killed Tybalt. She said, "Oh, that evil should live in such a gorgeous palace." Nurse says, "There's no faith, no truth, no honesty in men. All of them are liars. These griefs, these woes, these sorrows make me old. May shame come to Romeo." Juliet says, "May your tongue be blistered for making such a wish. He was not born to shame. Shame is a shame to sit upon his brow, for it is a throne where honor may sit. Oh, what a beast I was to speak ill of him." And the nurse says, "Oh, you speak well of your cousin's killer?" So here Juliet is defending Romeo. She said, "Nurse, may your tongue be blistered for making bad wishes on Romeo. We should not shame Romeo." And the nurse is surprised to hear Juliet defend Romeo because he killed Tybalt. And Juliet says, "What, shall I speak ill of my husband? My lord, what words can clear your name when I, your own wife, have ruined it? But why, villain, did you kill my cousin? That villain cousin would have killed you. Back, foolish tears, back to your well. My husband lives, whom Tybalt would have killed. And Tybalt is dead, who would have killed my cousin, or would have killed my husband. All this is comfort. Why then do I weep?" So she's saying, "I should not cry because my husband is still alive and Tybalt tried to kill him. So I'm actually lucky that my husband is still alive." She says that brings comfort to her. But still she weeps, she cries because she's sad that her cousin is dead. She says Tybalt's death was sad enough if it had ended there, but Romeo is banished. Remember, Romeo must leave. He's banished from Verona. There's no end in that word's death. Where are my father and mother, nurse? And the nurse says, "Weeping and wailing over Tybalt. Shall you go to see them? I will take you there." Julia says, "Are they washing his wounds with tears?" When their tears are dry, mine will still be falling for Romeo. I will go to my wedding bed now. Death, not Romeo, will be my husband. Nurse says, go to your room. I will find Romeo to comfort you. I know where he is. Listen, your Romeo will be here tonight. He is hiding in Friar Lawrence's cell. Juliet says, oh, find him, give him this ring, and tell him to come and say his last farewell. And they both exit. Scene 3. The first character is Friar Lawrence. Friar Lawrence enters his cell. Friar says, Romeo, come here, you fearful man. Suffering loves you. You are married to trouble. And Romeo enters. So Romeo's hiding at Friar Lawrence's. Romeo says, Father, what is the news? What is the prince's punishment? Friar says, you, my son, have too much bad luck. The prince has decided you will not die, but you will be banished. Romeo says, banished? Be merciful, say death. Banishment is worse than death to me. Friar says, you are banished from Verona. Be patient, for the world is broad and wide. Romeo says, there is no world outside Verona. Everything I love is here. And the friar says, you should be grateful to the prince. The lawful punishment is death. But the kind prince, taking your side, has brushed aside the law and spared your life. You should thank him. This is a dear act of mercy, and you don't see it. So the friar said it was merciful, it was kind of the prince not to order Romeo to be killed, but just to make Romeo leave Verona. Because according to the law, because he killed Tybalt, Romeo should be killed too. So actually, he's really lucky that the prince just banished him. And the friar says he's so lucky, but Romeo doesn't see it. Romeo responds, it is torture, not mercy. Heaven is here where Juliet lives. Every cat and dog and little mouse lives here in heaven and may look at her, but Romeo may not. Even flies are better off than Romeo. They may look on the beauty of dear Juliet's hand and steal a kiss from her lips, but Romeo may not. He is banished. Flies may do it, but I must fly from here. Again, another pun on the word fly, which is a fly is a little winged insect that Romeo's saying that these insects are lucky because they get to stay in Verona and see Juliet, but Romeo has to leave. And then the second use of the word fly, meaning run away. So he says, flies may do it, but I must fly from here. And yet you say that exile is not death? Don't you have poison, a sharp knife, some sudden means of death other than banishment to kill me? Friar says, you foolish man, I'll give you some philosophy to comfort you. Romeo says, philosophy? Unless I can make Juliet replace a town, change a prince's sentence, it does not help me. Talk no more. Friar says, oh, then I see madmen have no ears. Romeo says, why should they, when wise men have no eyes? Friar says, listen to me, Romeo. Romeo says, do not speak of what you do not feel. If you were young as I and loved Juliet, married an hour, and banished for killing her cousin, then you might speak. Then you might tear your hair as I do, and fall on the ground as if to measure your own grave. A knocking is heard from off stage. Friar says, hide, Romeo, someone is knocking. Romeo says, no, I won't hide. There's more knocking. Friar says, listen, how they knock. Who's there? Romeo, get up, or you will be taken away. Stand up. Run to my study. Who knocks so hard? What do you want? The nurse from off stage says, let me in. I come from Lady Juliet. Friar opens the door. Welcome, then. And the nurse enters. The nurse says, oh, tell me, Father, where's Romeo? And Friar says, on the ground, drunk in his own tears. The nurse says, oh, he is acting like Juliet, blubbering and weeping, weeping and blubbering. Oh, stand up and be a man for Juliet's sake. Romeo rises up from the floor. Nurse, were you speaking of Juliet? How is she? Does she think I am a murderer, that I have stained the start of our joy with blood so close to her own? Where is she, and how is she, and what does she say about our love? The nurse says, she says nothing, sir, but weeps and weeps. She cries and cries. She falls on her bed and then gets up again and calls Tybalt's name and cries for Romeo, and then falls down again. Romeo says, as if that name has murdered her, just as my hand murdered her cousin. Father, where in my body does my name lie? Tell me, so that I may cut it out. Friar says, calm down. Are you a man? Your form says you are, but your tears are womanish. So he's saying that Romeo's acting like a woman because he's crying. Your wild act suggests the angry fury of a beast. You surprise me. Will you kill yourself? If you do, you will kill your wife too, for now you are one. Get a hold of yourself, man. Your Juliet is alive. You are blessed. Tybalt would have killed you, but you killed Tybalt. Be happy about that. The law, which might have killed you, became your friend and exiled you instead. You are fortunate. You are lucky. A pack of blessings lies on your back. Go, get to your love as you planned. Climb to her room and comfort her. Leave before morning and go to Mantua, which is a neighboring city. Live there until we can find the right time to announce your marriage. Then we can beg pardon of the prince and call you back, with 100,000 times more joy than the sorrow in which you left. Go now, nurse. Remember me to your lady, and tell her to hurry her family off to bed. Their heavy sorrow should make that easy. Romeo is coming. The nurse says, I will tell my lady the news, and the nurse exits. Romeo says, I feel better now with this new plan. The friar says, go now, good night, and remember to leave before dawn. Wait in Mantua. From time to time, I'll send your servant to you with news. Give me your hand. Farewell. Good night. Romeo says, if not for the joy that calls to me, I would be sad to leave your company. Farewell. And Friar Lawrence and Romeo exit. Scene 4. Lord and Lady Capulet enter a room in their house with Paris. Lord Capulet says, we have not had time to talk to Juliet about your wish to marry her. She loved her cousin Tybalt dearly, and so did I. Well, we were all born to die. It's very late. She won't come down tonight, but for your company I would have been to bed an hour ago. Paris says, times of woe, of sadness, are not good times to woo. Madame, good night. Remember me to Juliet. Lady Capulet says, I will talk with her tomorrow. Tonight she is shut up with her sorrow. Lord Capulet says, I think it might be a good idea if you marry Juliet soon. In this matter, I think she will do as I think best. Wife, go to her before you go to bed and talk to her of Paris's love. And tell her on Wednesday. Wait, what day is this? Paris says Monday, my lord. Capulet says Monday. Ha ha, well, Wednesday is too soon. Let it be Thursday. To his wife he says, tell her that she shall be married to this noble earl on Thursday. Then to Paris, Lord Capulet says, will you be ready? We will have a small wedding, a friend or two. It wouldn't be right to have a big party so soon after Tybalt's untimely death. We'll have some 6 friends, and that's all. What will you say to Thursday? Paris says, I wish Thursday were tomorrow. So Lord Capulet has changed his mind, and he is going to let Paris marry his daughter, Juliet, and he's going to say that they will be married on Thursday, which is only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's only 3 days away. Paris says, I wish that tomorrow were Thursday. Capulet says, well, Thursday it will be then. Capulet says to his wife, go to Juliet before going to bed. Prepare her, wife, for her wedding day. Then to Paris he says, farewell, my lord. It is so late that we may call it early by and by. Good night. And they all exit. Scene 5. Romeo and Juliet stand on the balcony overlooking the Capulet's garden. So Romeo did climb up to Juliet's room, and they spent the night together. And now the sun is coming up, and it's time for Romeo to leave. Because if he stays, and they catch him, if anybody sees him in Verona, he will be put to death. So he must leave before the sun comes up, while it is still dark, and no one will see him. Juliet says, will you leave? It is not yet day. It was a nightingale, and not the lark that sang in your ear. So at the break of day, the birds are singing, and certain birds sing in the morning. And Juliet says, no, the bird song is not the morning bird. It was a bird that sings at night, because Juliet doesn't want him to leave. So she says, it was a nightingale and not the lark that sang in your ear. Romeo says, it was the lark announcing morning, no nightingale. See the light in the east? I must leave and live, or stay and die. Juliet says, that is not daylight, I know it, so stay a while. You do not have to go yet. Romeo says, you know how much I want to stay. Let me be taken, let me be put to death. I am glad, if you want it so. I'll say the light is not morning, it is the light of the moon. Come, death, and welcome. Juliet wills it so. Speak to me, Juliet, it is not day yet. So Romeo is saying that he will stay and be killed if Juliet wants. Juliet says, oh no, it is, be gone away. It is the lark after all, it is growing lighter. So Juliet actually grows afraid when she thinks of Romeo staying and getting killed. And so now she changes her mind. And she says, it is day. You must go, Romeo. And Romeo says, the lighter it gets, the darker our woes, the darker our troubles and sadness. The nurse enters, and the nurse says, your mother is coming to your room. It is morning. Be careful. Look about. And the nurse exits. Juliet says, window, let day in and let life out. Romeo says, farewell, one kiss and I will leave. They kiss, and then Romeo climbs down to the garden. Juliet says, are you gone, my love, my friend? I must hear from you every day. Romeo says, farewell, I will send word soon. Juliet says, do you think we shall ever meet again? And Romeo says, I doubt it not. In the future, all of these woes will be but sweet memories. And Juliet says, oh God, I have a bad feeling about this. I see you there on the ground as one dead in the bottom of the tomb. Either my eyesight fails or you look pale. Romeo says, my love, you look pale too. Dry sorrow drinks our blood. Farewell. So Romeo's down in the garden, and when Juliet looks down at him, she thinks he looks really pale, like his face is very white, and she thinks he looks like a dead person in the bottom of a tomb. And Romeo says to her that she looks pale too. She looks really white too. And it's because they are sad. And then Romeo says goodbye. Romeo leaves. He exits. Juliet says, oh fate, send him back soon. And Lady Capulet enters her room. Lady Capulet says, hello, Juliet, are you up? And Juliet says, Madame, I am not well. Lady Capulet says, still weeping for your cousin? Will you wash him from his grave with tears? Tears cannot make the dead live, so stop crying. Some grief shows love, but too much grief makes you look foolish. I have some joyful news for you, daughter. Juliet says, joy is welcome in such a sad time. What is the news, mother? Lady Capulet says, well, child, your loving father has arranged a day of joy for you to help you forget your sorrow. Juliet says, what day is that? And Lady Capulet says, child, on Thursday morning the gallant, young, and noble Paris shall make you his joyful bride. Juliet says, oh no, he will not. Why such a hurry? Why would I wed a man who has not courted me? So courted means like went out on dates with her. And so she's really surprised that she is being forced to marry Paris when he has not even dated her or spent any time with her. She says, tell my father that I will not marry yet, but when I do, I swear it shall be Romeo, whom you know I hate, never Paris. This is news indeed. So Juliet is, here she's saying, when I do marry, it will be Romeo. And of course that's true. She actually has married Romeo, but she's saying this to her mother to make the point that she does not want to marry Paris at all. She would rather marry Romeo, who has killed Tybalt, than marry Paris. She's trying to show her mom that she really does not want to marry Paris at all. Lady Capulet says, here comes your father. Tell him yourself and see how he takes it. So Lord Capulet and the nurse enter the room, and Capulet says, why are you still crying, my dear? Wife, have you not told her the good news? Lady Capulet says, I have, sir, but she says no. Capulet says, what do you mean she says no? Does she not thank us? Is she not proud? Does she not count her blessings that we have found such a worthy a gentleman for her? And Juliet says, I can never be proud of what I hate. I will never marry Paris. Lady Capulet says, what, are you mad? So mad in this case means like crazy. Are you crazy? Juliet says, "Good father, I beg you on my knees, listen to what I have to say." And Lord Capulet says, "Not another word, young baggage. I tell you, get to church on Thursday or never again look me in the face." So he's saying, if you don't marry Lord Paris, Juliet, you, I would never want to see you again. Never look at me again. Then he says, "Wife, we thought we weren't blessed when God gave us only one child, but now I see this one is one too much, and that we are cursed in having her." Lady Capulet says, "Your anger is too hot." So she's saying, like, calm down. Your anger is too much. Calm down. Lord Capulet says, "Hot! I am furious. Day and night, hour by hour, I have worked to find her a good match. And now we have found a noble gentleman, good looking, young, honorable, and this wretched, whining fool says no. I tell you this, Juliet, go where you will, you shall not live here. You can beg, starve, and die in the streets, for I promise I will never take you in. Think about it. I won't change my mind." And Capulet exits. So he's telling her if she does not marry him, he will throw her out onto the streets, and she cannot live with him anymore. And she will not be a part of his family if she does not marry Paris. Juliet says, "Is there no pity for me? Oh, sweet mother, please help me. Delay this marriage for a month or a week, or if you do not, make the bridal bed in the dim tomb where Tybalt lies." Lady Capulet says, "Quiet. I am through with you. I am done with you." And Lady Capulet exits. Juliet says, "Oh God, oh nurse, what can I do? My husband is alive. I have made my vows. What is your advice? Tell me." So she's saying, "I'm already married. I have already married Romeo. What can I do?" Nurse says, "Here it is. Romeo is banished. He may never be able to return. If he does, it will be in secret. Paris is a lovely gentleman. Romeo is a dishcloth compared to him. You will be happier in this second match, for it is better than your first. Even if not, your first is dead, or as good as dead. You are living here and have no use of him. Use your head. Marry Paris." So the nurse's advice is to forget about Romeo and get married to Paris, because Romeo is banished. He cannot live in Verona, and Juliet lives in Verona, so she should marry Paris. That's the nurse's advice. Juliet says, "Are you speaking from your heart?" And the nurse says, "Yes, from my soul too, or curse them both." Juliet says, "You have been a real comfort. Go and tell my mother that I am sorry for having displeased my father. Tell her I have gone to Friar Lawrence to make my confession and be forgiven." So the nurse says, "I will. You are wise to do this." And the nurse exits. Juliet says to herself, "Old devil, most wicked fiend, what kind of advice was that? She condemns Romeo. She says bad things about Romeo with the same tongue that she used to praise him. She shall hear no more of my secrets. I'll ask the friar what I should do, and if all else fails, may I have the power to die." So she says that the nurse is like wicked and a devil because the nurse used to say nice things about Romeo, but now she's saying forget about Romeo and marry someone else. So Juliet does not trust her anymore, and she says she will not tell any more secrets of her secrets to the nurse, but she is going to ask the Friar Lawrence, for help instead. And she says if she can't get any help, if all else fails, she will kill herself. She still has the power to die, so that she will not have to marry Paris. And that is the end of Act 3.